there's very real consequences to when you're missing kind of parental attention and affection as you're growing up. Very deep
Yeah.
psychological pieces. So for
Yeah.
you, what did that relationship with your father look like?
When I was little or like
Yeah.
later on?
No, when you were little, the stuff kind of leading up
Mm.
to this want and the need for the attention from guys.
Yeah, yeah. Um, gosh, like when I was when I was a child, I couldn't do anything wrong. And I think that's very cultural. Like I think that Koreans are kind of known for spoiling the kids when they're little. But it was when I was 12 that things like really changed. And I didn't realize like growing up here in the States, and my mom is Caucasian. She's like Scottish and Spanish. She's not Korean, right? I didn't realize that in his mind, the Korean like traditional household is like the daughter is the one who carries her father's stress. That's one of her responsibilities.
Interesting.
And I don't know that I'm not saying that all Korean families are like that, but I've definitely talked to a lot of Korean like women that had a similar experience. And so what did that look like? That looked like anger outbursts, rage, tearing my room apart, sudden notice, like uh, be like living like very hyper vigilant because I bought into believing that I was actually responsible for my dad's happiness, that if I could just do things right, my dad would be happy. And a lot of that was because of the language he was saying to me when he would have like outbursts and rage moments of rage. And he had grown up in the Korean War, like not to make excuses for my dad, but his own childhood was so traumatic that it was almost like the war would come out of him into the home. And it was focused on me mainly being the oldest and the daughter. And
Mm-hmm.
so whether it was like name calling that you're worthless, you're a slut, you're like, I wish that you were never born, I hate the sound of your voice. It's really interesting, Pi, because I think all of us on some level have one thing that the world has been trying to take from us since we were young. And I think it's because it's our greatest like sword of bringing healing to other people. And the one thing for me that ever since I was little has been my voice. If like I can be convinced to not speak up, to not share, to not like talk with others, then I feel like my purpose for me, at least myself, completely shuts down. And it's interesting as I look over my life, all the different things that have happened to shut my voice down, to convince me I don't have a voice. And then to find out over the years how much healing like people have shared with me that even the sound of my voice has brought. Like it's just
Mm-hmm.
like so like crazy. And so that was my dad's thing, was like my voice. He hated the sound of my laughter, all of those things that were just so like ridiculous, but that's where he was at. He and I have come a long way, I'll say. He actually read the book like right before it came out, and that was the beginning of he and I healing our relationship together.
Yeah.
Um, so that's almost like the best part of the story is how all of that happened. But that's definitely like a little bit of what was going on at home before I left to go to college.
I mean that's a lot. I feel like that hearing those words literally puts you into that place of, well, if I'm not getting love and belonging here at home, I'm going to go and I need to find it somewhere amongst friends, among the people that I'm dating, among like you're going to crave that, and you're going to crave the praise. And I would guess those early child traumas would also make it so that genuine praise and attention is something that you value. Like if I were to say, like just a genuine comment, words of affirmation, essentially. Like if you were to look
Oh
back
yeah,
at,
yeah, yeah.
love
That's totally
languages,
my love language.
it would
Yeah,
naturally become the love language because it's something that's essentially denied or even to the flip side, I
right.
mean, you're abused with when you're younger. I'm it's very interesting when, I like hearing your perspective, and I like every different perspective, but your perspective on you having a voice and kind of this being like the world's way of trying to shut that voice. I almost look at it from a different perspective in that the trauma and the experiences that you went through is what developed your voice, in the sense of like,
Yeah.
I don't know that regardless of what your voice is, I don't know that it would have nearly as much power, empathy, any of the things that it would have if it weren't for those experiences, if that makes sense.
Yeah, 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 for sure. For sure. I think it's like the the added piece to that is being aware of like what the inner battle is. Cause it's interesting how often I can struggle with, you know, well, maybe I shouldn't write this next book.
Hmm.
Maybe like I shouldn't like share about those things. Like, and it's interesting how maybe everyone goes through that on some level with writing a book, but it's like it has this twist to it that is like, oh, that's actually the evidence that's exactly what I should do.